What's up, guys? So today I want to do a video talking about all the details as to why I sold the Challenger and why we ended up picking the 2021 RAV4. So first, let's talk about the Challenger. So I got the Challenger, obviously. I absolutely loved it. After driving it for, I want to say, a little under 5 months, we owned it. It was extremely comfortable. We went through a winter with it. The all-wheel drive on there was really amazing in the snow. I was actually pretty surprised. I didn't really know what to expect. I figured, well, all-wheel drive's got to be a little bit better than front-wheel drive. This is my first experience personally driving a vehicle with all-wheel drive. Now, of course, you guys, or many of you know, I had an 86 Chevy K20, and that had obviously four-wheel drive. It was a beast. I can drive through anything. So after I got rid of the truck and, we didn't have anything that was winter capable, let's say, that was a huge consideration, and that's one of the reasons why I even got the Challenger in the first place. So I had this beautiful looking car, and one of the reasons why we ended up getting the Challenger, or looking at any new car to begin with, if you didn't know, is because I had a Chrysler 200 that just bit the dust. Couple problems here and there while owning the car. I was the only owner, bought it brand new in 2013. And after about 7 years, I paid the car off and everything. I owned it for a little over a year, and then the head gasket went. So that was a huge bust for me. At the time, I just decided it wasn't worth fixing. Even if I did fix the head gasket, it's just certain other parts on the car. Going through Pennsylvania winters and stuff, it was starting to rust. I knew that I needed some suspension work as well, so I just knew the expense wouldn't be worth it. So we decided to get rid of that car and get into something brand new that we wanted to be winter capable. And we knew we wanted at least all-wheel drive. And when I was searching around looking at different cars, I stumbled across a Challenger that was an all-wheel drive, and I was shocked. I'm like, I can't believe this really awesome looking sports car is offered in all-wheel drive. Now at first I thought, like, wow, it's awesome, a big V8. Yeah, it's not bad on gas, but I'll deal with it. It's a cool car. And then, of course, later realized that they didn't make a V8 Challenger with all-wheel drive. It was only the 3.6 liter V6. Now that engine was putting out 305 horsepower, and I have to tell you, it was fun to drive. All right, obviously it's not a V8, but it had plenty of power. There was at one point where I got turned around. I was following Christina going somewhere, and there was a couple cars that pulled out in between us. So she got in the highway, and I was looking for her because I was following her somewhere. And I went the wrong way in the highway. So I'm like, oh man. So I whipped around, brought it up to 120 miles an hour, and I caught up in no time. The pep on that car was ridiculous, even in a V6. It still had a ton of power. What I liked about having the power was really just passing things, like on the highway, and I'm, there's a tractor trailer in the slow lane, and I'm kind of, because most times I do, follow the law. I do drive normal. I drive 65. Actually, I like using cruise control quite a bit in all my vehicles, just because I like to get better gas mileage. I'm not always speeding around. There's an appropriate time to have, fun with your car, and, feel sporty and kind of, get in there and get the high revs and just get going, right? But, day to day, I'm just driving the car, and I want it to last. So I wasn't romping on that Challenger. I did have my fun, for sure. Put it in sport mode and just to see what it can do. But seriously, 99% of the time I was just driving it like any other car, conservatively, not only to save gas, but also because I wanted to maintain my investment. I didn't want to beat on the car so it would turn to crap. So anyway, long story short, loved the Challenger, loved the all-wheel drive. It was super comfortable. Christina liked the car as well. But there was always this nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like, why did you pick another Chrysler? Because Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, it's all the same company. It's all owned by Fiat. Well, it was owned by Fiat, and now it's Stellantis or Peugeot, whatever. So yeah, it was this big thing in the back of my mind. Now, when I first got the Challenger, my plan was to finance it because I couldn't afford just to buy it outright. I didn't have the cash, so I wanted to finance it for 72 months, and I wanted to pay it off, and I wanted to dump it. And the reason for that is because I knew, again, being a Chrysler product, a Dodge product, that it wasn't going to last the test of time. It wasn't a vehicle that I thought that I would have for 10 or 15 years. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, everyone has different lifestyles. Everyone has different opinions on vehicles and cars and trucks and the whole thing. Some people lease. I happen to not like leasing at all. Some people, it's really, it's for your specific situation. Some people get cars. I know, I have a friend that gets a brand new car like every 2 years, no matter what, because a brand new car lasts 2 years without having any problems, right? It's once you start getting some mileage, once you hit that 100K mark, once you have a car 5-6 years, whatever, that's when it just starts to really show its signs of wear. Things start breaking down. Even if you maintain it very well, like the Chrysler 200, I not only did every single thing I was supposed to in the maintenance schedule, but I went above and beyond. I bought extra spark plugs. I bought, or I rotated my tires exactly 3,000 miles. It's just everything you could possibly do to maintain that vehicle, because I was paying money for it, it was a lot of money. And I wanted to make sure that it was going to be a good car. No matter what I did, some things are just out of your hands. In the situation with the Chrysler 200, every problem in that entire car stemmed from its heating cooling system. That's it. It had a horrible heater core with bad welds. And because the car had overheated multiple times throughout me owning it, it really wore down on that head gasket, which eventually blew at just over 100,000 miles. Very early on in the car, I have no idea why Chrysler did this, but the oil from the factory, or not the oil, the coolant from the factory had some kind of coagulant in it, which is stuff you would put in coolant for 150,000 plus mile vehicle. It's to like seal up any cracks here and there. It was really stupid for them to do, but right out of the gate when the car was brand new, it started to gel up and clump up and stuff. And I know that was the big culprit for a lot of the problems down the road. So anyway, long story short, again, well, I'm not gonna say that because this is a long story. But I'll try to give you the shortest version of it. The Challenger was amazing. I loved the car, ED, and I do still love that car, and I will miss it. It was a lot of fun. Again, super comfortable, but the reliability factor was gnawing at me. It was just like chewing on my brain. Every time I got in it, I was concerned, like, something could happen. Now, obviously, the car was brand new. I got it with 4,000 miles on it. I put another 4,000 miles on it. A 2019, even though it was a couple years old at this point, it was still brand new. It had no mileage. So there's no reason for anything to go wrong with it, but it was a nagging feeling that one day, what if it's the same thing like with the 200, right? I have the vehicle, I have for a few years, maybe there's a couple things here and there, and I fix it, it's not a big deal, but then, once I own the car, I want to be able to enjoy it payment free, for years. And I just didn't have the confidence. That's all it comes down to. If it was known as a reliable brand, if it was known as a reliable vehicle, I would have probably stuck with it. However, it wasn't. It's definitely not known among the car community in general, among car reviewers, the whole car scene. Everyone gets it, right? Mopar is awesome. I love Mopar. They have really awesome designs. Chrysler in general, Chrysler, Dodge, they make really good looking vehicles, but they just don't last the test of time, and it's stupid little stuff here and there, and then sometimes it's major stuff. So yeah, that was a huge factor. There's a bunch of other factors that kind of built up as well, but I did like driving it. I'll tell you something, another factor that played in, which I was totally shocked with, was the attention it got. Now in the beginning, it's really awesome. You know what I mean? It's a cool car. You stop at a gas station. Hey, awesome, cool. What do you have? Is that a Hellcat? That was the biggest question. Oh, you got a Hellcat? No, I don't. Oh, well, at least it's still a big V8. No, it's not. It's a 6. Oh, okay. And like, well, it's got all-wheel drive. They're like, oh, really? All-wheel drive? I've had these conversations with, I don't know, a bunch of people since I've had the car in the few months that I've owned it. And the attention was okay in the beginning. And sometimes you get cars like this for attention. Obviously, why would you get a sports car? You're enjoying it, but there's something, I don't know, the human psyche, when you're driving around, you just feel cool. And there's no shame in that. People buy all kinds of things in their life because it makes them feel cool. Wearing a nice pair of shoes. You can have a $300 pair of shoes. They might not even be that comfortable. But when you're walking down the street and you're showing off, you're flexing, and people are like, oh wow, those guys got nice shoes. That's just something we all do. It's stupid. It's really stupid. You shouldn't care about any other person's opinion, especially strangers, but it's natural. We all do it. Big house, cool car, fancy clothes, jewelry. It's not comfortable to wear a big diamond necklace, but why do people do it? Because they're flaunting their wealth. They're flaunting their success. Hey, look at me. I have something expensive and nice. you know. That wasn't why I got the car. I got the car because it looked cool, and I felt cool driving it. I've always loved cars. I've always loved muscle cars, you know. And this was the closest thing that I've ever gotten to having like a cool muscle car, you know. And I made a whole video talking about it. It wasn't technically a muscle car, but it looked like it, and most people thought it was. But deep down, I know it wasn't. But I still loved it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Every single time I got into it, I smiled. I took pictures. We'd go places. I'd be walking to the car, and I would take my phone out and take a picture of it because it was that cool. You know, I was constantly like impressed by my own car. But anyway, the attention, that got old fast. And what started happening was I was starting to worry about all the attention that I was getting from it. I started to be concerned, you know, is someone going to walk past this car and be jealous and they're going to scratch it? You know, it might sound stupid, but that happens. That's real world stuff. People get jealous. And there's no reason to be jealous of anyone for anything. Let me make that very clear right now. I don't care if you walk around in a 24 karat gold gilded suit, okay? It doesn't mean anything. All right, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Someone else there has way more than you, and lots of people have way less than you. So as far as like a status symbol, I didn't really care about that kind of stuff. I wasn't trying to show off. It's just personally, it felt great. It was the enjoyment, like, and that's what you get out of a lot of that kind of stuff, like fancy jewelry, nice clothes, nice car, nice house. You get that enjoyment when you get into it or use that. It makes you smile. It makes you feel good, and I got that with that car. But again, as time went on, I started to worry. You know, we had to go down to Walmart for something. The very first time I parked my car at Walmart, I was like going insane in my head. I'm inside the store. I can't help think, oh, is someone going to walk by and scratch it? You know, it was like, it was almost too nice. And it's stupid to say that because it's an expensive car, but it's not like I have a Lamborghini sitting out there, you know what I'm saying? But it got just as much of attention. It's seriously, I had so many people just looking at it, honking, waving. Something else I noticed is like when I was on the highway, people move out of the way for you. They look in the rear view and they see that aggressive front end, they see that Challenger front end, and they literally move out of the way for you. I've never experienced that driving the Chrysler 200. People don't give a crap. But yeah, it was just really cool. I mean, other Challengers and Chargers are passing you, they're honking and waving and stuff. It's definitely an experience for sure. But I started to not like it. I didn't like the extra attention. I kind of wanted to blend in. And that was also kind of playing on my psyche a little bit in the back of my mind, you know. So other factors, the back seat. So when I got the car, or even when we're considering the car, obviously it's a coupe, it's a two-door, and it's going to be difficult to have passengers, which we don't have very often. Wasn't a huge consideration, but we do carry a lot of gear. We're constantly putting things in and out of the car and stuff, so you know, it was offset by the huge trunk. What I mean by that is that when we looked at it, we're like, hey, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to get in those back seats, but it's got a massive trunk, and it does. It has a huge trunk. So as far as storage, you know, or the cargo room in the vehicle, the trunk makes up for the small back seat. However, it's deep and it's low. So it's a really weird situation. It's a huge trunk, but you have to, like, the bumper sticks out a lot before the trunk even begins. So like even me, I'm 6 foot tall. I had to kind of really lean in to get to the back of the trunk, and Christina's a lot shorter than me. She couldn't reach the back trunk unless she got in the trunk. So like, as far as just grabbing things, it wasn't as practical as I thought. Now as far as the back seat, it is a huge pain in the butt. We never had a passenger in the car, so no one had to sit back there. Of course, we both sat back there when we first got it just to see what it like. And as far as like what it's offering in its class compared to the Camaros and the Mustangs and stuff, the back seat is better, you know, better, but it's not good. I wouldn't want to be sitting back there for an hour plus trip in the car. And I thought, like, all right, well, you know, we're not really going to have passengers, but if I have, you know, a trunk full of stuff, or we have extra groceries, or whatever the case is, I could put stuff in the back. And it turned out that, yeah, that sucks. Putting the seat forward, it only goes forward so much. Then you have like this V space, and you know, you're kind of rubbing on the car. So yeah, it turned out I really didn't like the two-door for an everyday car, just a daily driver for its you know, practical sense. So that was kind of, you know, not really bugging me, but that was also these little chips, and they all started to add up until they, you know, toppled over, right? Other factors, it's funny, a lot of people had guessed or mentioned in the comment section, like, oh, you must have a baby on the way, that's why you went with a 4-door instead of the 2-door. We don't have a baby on the way. We do plan to eventually have a child. We have a very, specific idea as to where we want to be in life. You're never fully prepared to have kids, but like financially, I'm not comfortable at all having a baby right now. I want a kid. I want to be a dad. I really want to have that experience with my wife and pass on a legacy. I think that's a big part of life, to have kids. But there's an appropriate time. I don't think right now would be. There's a lot of other stuff going on too. And it would be so much extra stress. I mean, of course she figured, that's what happens with people. Sometimes, a lot of times people have kids on accident. They don't want to have kids, but they have them, and then they kind of figure it out, you know what I mean? But I don't want to struggle in any way. Financially, emotionally, any of that stuff. So there's other things going on in both of our lives that would make it very difficult to have a baby. By the way, I'm moving around in my chair in case someone's like, at 2 minutes and 8 seconds he farted. Because I get those comments, which are hilarious to me. I don't think I've ever farted on camera. Gus used to fart all the time. If I fart during a video, I'll let you know. I'll let one rip, and I'll tell you about it. But anyway, I don't know why I felt the need to mention that, but I'm moving around in my camp chair. It's making fart noises. Anyway, so these things started to stack up a little bit. So first we have reliability. That was a big factor. Then we had capability as far as, storage cargo, kind of annoying, but still doable. But, I mean, it's just one of those things, right? All these little things are adding up. Another big one for me was my wife driving it. Now, when I first got it, because we were talking about it, and I kind of picked it out, and she kind of went with it. This was supposed to be like, our car together. But she thought it was cool, and she thought it was capable. Once I started reading things about the all-wheel drive, and being that motor happens to be reliable. It's used in all kinds of other vehicles from Dodge and Jeep. Jeep uses it, the 3.6 liter. So it's been around for years. The actual motor would be reliable. That motor would probably last a very long time. Obviously, taking care of the car, but everything else would break down around it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Like the Jeeps, the 4.0. Those motors you can't kill. Like my dad had one. Right, he had an old Jeep, or older Jeep, and the motor was just amazing. But you know what happened? The whole Jeep rusted out. The frame was breaking. It's just like everything else craps out around this perfect motor. So the reliability of the motor, yeah, that's great. And the transmission was apparently reliable as well. But what else breaks along the way? You know what I'm saying? My Chrysler 200, I think the motor was fine. I had a little 4-banger in there, but I really do feel like that head gasket wasn't a head gasket problem, because that's not common in the Chrysler 200s. You don't see a lot of them blowing head gaskets at 100,000. It's the heating system that deformed it and created a lot of pressure and all that kind of stuff, so it wore it out prematurely. But anyway, going back to the wife, Christina, she liked the car. It was very comfortable, seriously comfortable ride. Like if you had to pick a sporty looking car, like a muscle car appearance, for a daily driver, you couldn't do better. It had amazing room. The seats were super plush, super comfortable. It was really a pleasure to drive. I would drive across the country out to California with it. I have no reason to go to California, and I can't bring my gun. But just for an example, it would just be a pleasure to do long drives and long commutes back and forth to work if I had to. So the comfort wasn't really an issue at all. It was all these other little things. However, it's a big car. And Christina's used to her little Civic, and she's driven all of our vehicles. She's driven the truck, she's driven the Monte Carlo, she's driven the 200. But the Challenger is just something she didn't really like that much, and she wasn't like super vocal about it. She's not like, oh my god, I hate driving this. No. If she would have got used to it, but it's just one of those things where I know it would just be more difficult for her to drive and enjoy. So I kind of wanted to. That was another thing. I'm kind of wanting to get into something that she can enjoy just as much as I am. You know what I mean? Like, she was happy, I was happy, and she's very supportive and all that stuff. But it definitely wasn't like her choice, her idea. It was really all me. She just went with it because everything made sense. So the factor that pushed us over was this market. The market is insane. The used market is super high because the demand has always been high for vehicles. Once this pandemic hit, people started looking at their house because they're sitting home at their house and they're like, yeah, maybe I don't like my house. I'm usually not here, but now I'm stuck here. So all of a sudden people started selling their homes and buying new homes and refurnishing their homes. And what are they doing to kill time? Riding around their cars. You know what? I don't like this car. Never realized that until I was stuck in it. And they're buying cars, right? And then the chip shortage happened, which there's a lot of conflicting information about that. I think there was a fire at one of the manufacturers that make the chips, and these processing chips are in everything, gaming systems and cars and all kinds of stuff. But what happened was production on vehicles slowed down. The demand never slowed down. So what you had was a lot less brand new cars. When you go to you can go to a dealership right now, any car dealership, they're going to have a fraction of what they normally have, literally a fraction of it. So all of a sudden, they're not doing deals anymore. People still want cars. They're not available at dealers, so the used market got focused on. People started buying used cars, and the used car prices went all the way up. And so hearing this and following, because I follow a lot of car channels and stuff. I actually first heard it from Racer X. I'll give a shout out to Racer X. He does a big Mopar guy, but he likes all kinds of vehicles. Very cool channel, very nice guy, but I learned a lot about car stuff watching his channel. And he was talking about the market and stuff, and Scotty Kilmer. Obviously, a lot of people know and like Scotty Kilmer. He was talking about it too, and it's kind of like this little bug in my ear, like, I wonder what I can get for the Challenger, Because all of a sudden, people's used cars, in some cases, are worth more than what they were when they got them. So, I investigated a little bit. And after I investigated it, I thought, you know what? Maybe we should just sell this car and get something else. Maybe when the 200 died and we were looking for a vehicle, because we looked at all kinds of stuff, maybe I was just a little blinded by the Challenger looking so cool. Because here's the thing. If the Challenger had a different body, if it looked like an Aztec or something from Breaking Bad, I would never have even considered it. Dodge? No way. I'm not going to go back to Chrysler, right? But it was so alluring. It was such a beautiful car, and it really is a beautiful car, beautiful lines. It's the closest thing, for me to getting into a fully restored, like, 69 Camaro or something. Like, that's my dream muscle car. I love all muscle cars. 69 SS Camaro, black on black. That's where it is for me. That is a hot car. But, like, that feeling I got from the Challenger, but with all the modern conveniences. The beautiful ice-cold AC, the super comfortable seat, all the technology that's in it, which is amazing. It really is amazing technology. And just enough power to put a big old smile on my face. So really, I think that I was a little blinded by it. And like I said, I looked it up, and the motor was reliable, and transmission's fine, all this stuff. And I'm like, it's brand new. I'm still going to have a manufacturer's warranty. And I kind of convinced myself that this was the choice for us. And really, it probably wasn't. That's what it comes down to. It probably wasn't the best choice. It was an okay choice, and it probably would have worked out. I might have had to repair some things here and there. But ultimately, even if it never broke down when I owned the car, it's just... I just don't have the confidence in it. You know what I mean? Right now, being brand new, it was great. What's it going to be like in 5 or 6 years? Is it going to be a clunker? I don't really know. It's hard to tell. You don't know the longevity of these cars when they're brand new. This is a 2019 that I had. It doesn't have a history yet, When I got the Chrysler 13, the Chrysler 200 in 2013, it was brand new. It was super reliable because no one had any mileage on it. There wasn't a Chrysler 200 with 100,000 miles on it yet. So, they tell you, like, don't buy the first generation of anything because they got to work out the bugs, and there's definitely some validity to that. You want to get into a vehicle that has some history, but they're coming out with all kinds of new stuff all the time, and they're changing different cars all the time, and they really have no idea what they're going to be like until there's a history. That when the new Cherokees came out, they were awesome. People bought them in droves. They're really cool looking. They're nice, whatever. And then, you start seeing these problems popping up, but you don't know until there's a bunch of people who drive them all the time. So, we basically revisited the entire situation, erased everything that happened since the Chrysler blew up, and started over. And we started looking at different vehicles, and it was really stuck in my head. I'm like, I really want to consider Toyota or Honda. Christina loves her Honda, both companies obviously having a great reliability track record. Certain years, certain models specifically may have had problems, especially with Honda. You know, there's just certain, like you said, like, oh, Honda Civic is the most reliable. There's some Civics that sucked. You know, it's very specific time periods where they had some bum parts, I guess. So I really focused on those two brands. I originally wanted some. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting rid of my 305 horsepower. I want something with power. You know, so I started looking at them like, ooh, you know, they make a Camry with a pretty big motor. They have a Camry with a 6 in it. I forget the exact specs on it, the horsepower and the torque and stuff. But I'm like, you know what? That's like 500 pounds lighter and not too far off from 305. So I'm like, that probably has some pep in it. And then, okay, well, that one is not offered in all-wheel drive. It's a new deal. They have all-wheel drive in Camrys, but only in the little four-bangers. So I'm like, oh, man, that sucks. I really wanted to have a Camry with a big motor and some power so I could still have some fun, you know. But then I kind of got back into the same thing. Well, you know, do we want to stick with a car, you know, or do we want to go with a truck or an SUV or something? And we're looking at all different vehicles. I really do absolutely love the Toyota 4Runners. I think they're awesome. I think they're really good-looking vehicles. They have a crap load of seating / cargo space. You know, if you don't have people, you could certainly have stuff in there if you needed to. I love them. I think they're awesome. I like the Tacomas too. I've always liked the Toyota Tacomas. Plenty of people out there who have them. But I figured if I were going to get a truck, I would get a 4Runner for sure. I'd pick a 4Runner just for and the gas mileage sucks on it, but in comparison to other vehicles. But I like the extra room. I love the look. And I don't think I really need an open bed truck. I think I'd be better off with something like the 4Runner, you know. But still, the truck capabilities. However, that was out of our budget. You know, really crunching numbers and looking at things, and you know, I didn't want to get something with mileage on it, and that's the only way that would have worked out. If I got something that was, you know, owned with, who knows, 50,000 miles, 75,000 miles, or whatever, like, yeah, it's a lot. It's still a lot of money. So I thought, all right, well, let's bring the price down a little bit. I kind of wanted to get the same range financially as the Challenger was. I didn't want to change payments or anything like that. So the 4Runner was off the table. So was the Tacoma anyway. But then we're looking at different, you know, crossovers and SUVs and stuff. And that's when, you know, the Honda CR-V popped up and the, of course, Toyota RAV4. Christina always liked the RAV4s. She thought they had better style than the CR-Vs. The CR-Vs. I mean, there's pros and cons to both. It just depends on what area you're looking at. But when it came down to it, you know, looking at all these different vehicles, from like everything Toyota offered, everything Honda offered, we really ended up just with the RAV4. We both agreed on a lot of different aspects, you know, all the different, you know, possibilities of what you're looking for in a car or a vehicle when you're buying it. And the RAV4 came out on top. Another consideration was the CVT transmission. I'm not a fan of CVT transmissions. My father had a Jeep Patriot. My mother still drives a Jeep Patriot. And, you know, knock on wood, hers is doing okay. It's got, I think, like 120,000 or something, 115,000 miles. But he got a Jeep Patriot because she liked hers so much. And it didn't last very long at all. The CVT transmission broke. Apparently there's problems with that. And it was such a sour experience for him that I witnessed. I'm like, I don't want to get into a CVT transmission. I just don't like the idea. You know, as far as them being reliable, I know like Nissan, they had the worst CVTs, but Jeep, a lot of them had CVT transmission problems. I'm not saying a CVT transmission is going to break, but again, I'm getting away from the reason we're getting rid of the Challenger, that reliability factor. So I'm like, I don't even want to touch it. I don't want to mess with it. It could be no issue at all. Don't even want to consider it. So that was checked off the list. So believe it or not, there is a ton of Toyotas and Hondas that use CVT transmissions. So all these different things were different factors, you know. And I saw, okay, well, there's a RAV4, which we like. And it's got a little four-banger in it, but it's naturally aspirated, which means there's no turbo, or obviously there's not going to be a supercharger on or anything. But I did not want a small motor with a turbo. They just, I mean, again, I'm sure some people are watching the video, they have them and it works great and they're very reliable. That's fine. However, I just know from hearing other people's experiences that there's a possibility that they wear out those motors faster. They do an underpowered motor, but then they throw on a turbo to bring up the power a little bit. I wanted something that was NA. I wanted something that was just, you know, a regular motor. So the RAV4, 203 horsepower, I think, in a little 4-cylinder. I thought, okay, it's not too bad. Again, 500 or 600 pounds lighter than the Challenger was. It should have a little bit of pep, you know. I'm not getting into anything that's going to be, you know, sporty, quote unquote sporty to drive, even though there's a sport mode in there. But it had enough pep where, like, if I have to pass someone on the highway, I could do it relatively easily. If I'm pulling out and someone's coming, oh no, I got to step on the gas, you know. That's where I value the power in a car. It's not all about having fun or doing burnouts, you know. There's legitimate times where you need to have some power in your vehicle to get the hell out of the way so that you're not sitting in a dangerous situation. So I thought, all right, well, that's okay, right? Does it have a CVT? Well, it was offered in an 8-speed automatic, which has actually got great praise. Cool. So yeah, I have a traditional feel to the car. You know, I can hear those shifts. It feels good. I've been driving, obviously. It's comfortable for me and Christina. And, you know, in the future, after I drive it for a while, I'll talk about things I like about it and I don't like about it. But ultimately, we are extremely happy with our decision. Went to a dealer, got more money for the Challenger. We got thousands of dollars more than we financed it for. So it paid off our loan, and we're going to get a check soon for the difference. And we got into the RAV4. As far as the financial part of things, they cost about the same because the RAV4 is brand new. It was, I want to say, like maybe 2,000-ish more, you know. But again, like payments and stuff, all that is very, very similar to the Challenger. So we basically swapped it as far as a financial standpoint. The thing was really, really interesting is when I went to the Toyota dealership, I considered pre-owned to save some money. They had the exact same RAV4, different color. I think the different features, it might even had more. I think it had the upgraded stereo package. It was more expensive. It was like $1,500 more than a brand new one with 13,000 miles on it. I think it was a 2019. Do you know why? Because it was right there to buy that day. All the new ones, they weren't even on the lot. And I asked the guy, I'm like, well, when are you getting vehicles in? He's like, well, we're getting 8 RAV4s in within a month, but, you know, 6 of them are sold. I'm like, what do you mean they're sold? He's like, well, people already bought them. Like, they didn't even look at them? Like, he's like, nope. These cars are selling themselves before they even get to the dealership. We happened to pick one that was on the way. Everything worked out. It had all the features we wanted. We did end up with a XLE Premium. It's like middle of the road as far as cost. It's not the cheapest one. It's not the most expensive one. It's right in the middle. It has enough features and you know, extra bells and whistles that we really enjoy. And again, I'll go specifically into detail about the car in the future. Things I like, things I don't like, features, things like that. But so far, I mean, we are extremely happy with it. I have a peace of mind. I feel like I can get in this car, I can keep driving it, just throw gas in it, maintain it properly, do, you know, oil changes. Only synthetic for me. I happen to like synthetic. Every 5,000 miles, I don't push that kind of stuff. Do all the maintenance on it. And this car should last a very long time. I have full confidence that it'll last until I own it. I did finance it. Which, by the way, going here, I got a much better rate. I still stayed with the same bank because I got a private loan on the Challenger, and they gave me a 3.09% APR. Right now, on this car, I have a 1.9% APR, which is amazing, which was able to keep the payments the same, you know. So yeah, I mean, we're excited. Honestly, the two of us are extremely excited. I'm excited for Christina because this is really her first new car. The Challenger, she liked it and everything, but it just wasn't her thing, you know. That was my thing, and now this is our thing. And I value that so much, that she can enjoy this brand new car just as much as I can. She can comfortably jump in it and drive around if she needs to. That was a big goal for us together. It just makes me really happy too that she's just as excited about it as I am. So that's pretty much it. I'm sure this video went on forever. There's a lot more to tell. Again, I'll save that for the future when we talk about the RAV4 specifically. But I think it's going to work out. Again, the reliability is there. The cargo is there. It's so much easier. She can reach the whole trunk. I love the idea of the hatch. The little things, like you're putting your groceries away in the rain. You know, you're not getting soaked. You have a little roof sitting there. You know, we like to go camping and stuff. It's going to be much better for that. You know, I was kind of cringing at the idea that I got to like drive up in the woods with my Challenger, you know. This is a beautiful car, and it's not a cheap car. It's a very expensive car. It's around $35,000. And, you know, but I like that it blends in. I like that it just, you don't notice it. It's like everyone has these, you know what I'm saying? You don't look twice at it. And it gives me confidence. I can go to a parking lot and not worry about it getting messed with. I can, you know, drive on the highway and not be a, you know, a target for police to pull me over for a speeding ticket. I have to say, it's comfortable. It's a very comfortable vehicle. The seats aren't as comfortable as a Challenger was, but it's not like it's uncomfortable. It's totally adequate. And I can jump in this car. We can go down to Florida if we want to, go to California. Again, probably go to Florida just because I can bring my gun. I'm sure California is beautiful, but that's a big issue for me. Anyway, that's it for now. We are very excited about it and looking forward to a bright future. And I hate owing people money, so now my goal is just to pay it off so I can actually own the thing, because right now I'm borrowing it from the bank. So thanks for watching, guys.